Howdy folks, this is Paul's summarization of the 2011 Vuelta Sudamericana, the distances, the climbs, the elevation, where we visited 4 countries in South America over 80 days and bicycled about 6,000 kilometers. Here's the route that we took. You can see we started in Buenos Aires and we went across the Pampas up into Santiago, then north along the Chilean coast before turning inland up to the Altiplano to visit La Paz, Lake Titicaca, Machu Picchu, and finally arriving in Lima. So that's our route. Here are the sections as defined by Tour d'Afrique, which is the group that sponsored the ride. Tour d'Afrique is the same group that I rode in 2009, 2010 across Africa. That's a different story. But so you see the miles and the kilometers that we were to ride on the 2011 Vuelta Sudamericana. We were proposed to ride about 6,550 kilometers. We went closer to 6,000 kilometers due to a number of circumstances. And here you can see the total kilometers over the course of time. On the x-axis are the 80 days of the tour. On the y-axis are the cumulative distances in kilometers. There at the bottom of the screen you can see we spent 19 days in Argentina, 28 days in Chile, 15 days in Bolivia, and 21 days in Peru. We traveled almost 6,000 miles. If we average that across the 80 days, we averaged about 74 kilometers. But if we just include the riding days, we averaged on our riding days about 106 kilometers. The same data presented on a daily basis is shown in this graph. Again, the y-axis in kilometers, our average on riding days. Each bar that is blue in color is the distance traveled on a given day. So our average was about 106 kilometers. You can see some gaps in there. Some of those were planned breaks, but around day 49 to 56, 57, we had some issues in Bolivia where there was a road closure and we had to be trucked ahead in order to avoid getting delayed on our scheduled route. If we look at the cumulative climb, we can see that we climbed about 49 kilometers total climb, which is equivalent to about 30.6 miles. That's an awful lot of elevation gain. Surprisingly though, most of the elevation was in Chile and quite a bit of it was along the coast. We actually went up over the Andes while still in Argentina. So you see the first 10,000 meters of climb. We traversed the Andes Mountains one time, but in Chile gained a lot, and also in parts of Peru gained a lot of elevation. Looking at it in a slightly different fashion, each bar is our average climb for a day. You can see if you count up, we had like 14 days over 1,500 meters of climb. So 14 days where we climbed about 1 mile on those days. So a fair bit of climbing when we did climb. Our average per riding day climb was a little over 860 meters. That's over a half mile of climb average per riding day. If we look at our nightly elevation, this is the elevation where we slept at each night. You can see that there for a while in Chile, we were along the coast and we slept right on the coast virtually. But once we left Chile, got into Bolivia and Peru, we were at very high elevations. And there was a stretch of about 20 days where we were over 3,300 meters above sea level, meaning we were sleeping at above 10,000 feet every single night for 20-some nights. So a lot of change in elevation. Fascinating to be up in the Andes. Comparing the 2009-10 Tour d'Afrique with the 2011 Vuelta Sudamericana, you see a lot of the stats here. I won't go over them. You can pause this video and take a look at them. But about half the distance in South America compared to Africa that we actually bicycled. Our total climb, 49 kilometers versus 74 in South America versus Africa. Fascinating. Again, fascinating days, interesting comparisons. The Cairo to Cape Town data is shown in red, where we traveled almost 12,000 kilometers, whereas the Vuelta Sudamericana is in blue. You can see we averaged on a riding day a little bit more miles, a little bit more kilometers, 120 in Africa versus 106 in South America. The same comparison on cumulative climb over the course of the first 80 days, it was surprisingly similar. You can see that though on a per climb, or an average climb per riding day, we were slightly higher in South America than in Africa. So I'll leave you with this slide. It's cut off a little at the top. I apologize. There is a website for Tour d'Afrique if you haven't seen it. It's http://paulporter.cfan.umn.edu. Visit that if you haven't been there. Enjoy.